consultant, and basically the Akashic records are the records of all things. So I tap into this divine source, bring it into hopefully a package enough so you can hear what it is that all this information I get is saying in something that's concise and easy to understand based on your questions. I am going to speak today about indulging in self-care. What I get when I do Akashic record readings is a lot of information that is really collective information. So what may happen is somebody comes to me, has a problem or a question, and then I see the answers and the information. The next person comes to me, same problem, situation, and the similar answers come. And the pattern continues in a way that I start to see, we collectively are going through the same patterns of learning. So what's happening in consciousness right now is that we are really kind of going through what I equate to as the birth canal, awakening to who we are, awakening to our greater selves. And if you have had children, even if you haven't, you've all been born through the birth canal, it can be a very frightening, painful experience. So what's happening, and especially as people are already awake many times when they're born, they come in semi-awake because they wanted to be part of, let's say, this new evolution that we are moving through. They are often very clear in their upper chakras. If you look at old ways of being conscious or getting to enlightenment, it was working from, say, the root first chakra up, right? Because the people were more human-oriented, more dense-oriented, and so they went through, up into enlightenment. Well, for most of us, it's actually the reverse. We came in pretty awake. This is easy. Oh yeah, my intuition, I may not be attuned, but I pretty much have been able to guide myself through life. And then, our throat, yes, okay. Heart, there's a little bit of issues. We have issues maybe around relationship. And now what's happening is as these ones are opening up, we're finding that standing up for ourselves, being in our own personal power may be a little tricky. Oh, my emotions, this is really hard stuff. Now we're going down to our root chakra, survival, and we're in panic mode. Okay, so what's happening is as we are becoming more and more awake, we are starting to hit these lower chakras. So things about money, security, survival are all coming up. A lot of emotions are coming up, a lot of pain, a lot of fear. So this is actually the perfect time to start to begin to indulge in self-care. And the reason I like to use the birth as the analogy is that either way, when you've decided to have a baby and you're pregnant and you are now in labor, that baby is coming. You can't really change your mind. You think you can in the moment. No, I don't want to do this, and you go into panic mode. But you can get through this, and the best way to get through it is to have somebody there with you, let's say a doula, who can hold your hand, whisper to you, tell you, oh, it'll be okay, you can do this, I've done this. And if you really, really need to, you can find other methods to cope, like, you can take drugs if you needed to. Either way, we are going through this awakening process. How we get through it is completely up to us. We can go kicking and screaming, or we could go with grace and dignity. We could do a little bit of both if we want to. However, what you do want to do is focus on what your needs are right now. And my guess is you don't need to go out and help everybody else. My guess is you don't need to make sure that everybody else's needs are met first, and then you take care of yours. Because what's happening now is as we are outwardly trying to give and continue our life, make enough money, do enough deeds in our community, do enough housework, help others, we are finding that we are quickly sinking. What we want to do is learn how to put our own oxygen mask on first before we can help others. And it's not just as simple as survival. I really want to take us beyond this idea of survival into really indulging and taking care of self in ways that are luscious, yummy, and joyful, so that we don't have to feel so pressed to do it. It shouldn't feel like another should on our to-do list. So I'm not going to start by saying, oh, you really should eat well. You really should do this, right? Okay, we can start there. But we want to go into the indulgent of really taking care of self. So way back, however many years ago, when I was just 20 years old, I actually went to Al-Anon meetings. And when I went to these meetings, there were all kinds of wonderful spiritual philosophies and ideas that came through there. And one of the ideas, they use the acronym HALT, H-A-L-T. And so what you want to do is you want to halt and not continue if you get to H, hungry, A, angry, L, lonely, T, tired. So we're going to start there. We're going to start with sort of the survival mode of taking care of yourself with this idea of HALT. So the first thing you want to do is make sure you don't get too hungry. Okay, so every day we tend to live our lives. We wake up, we're in a hurry, we rush out the door, we may not eat well, or if at all. Or if we do, it's at the end of the night and we go, oh my gosh, I really am hungry, and so I'm going to drive through something fast to eat and just be done with it. And really that's not feeding our souls as well as it could. And it's not a judgment about the food, it's really about taking that time to say, gosh, you know, rather than waiting till I'm too hungry, maybe I ought to eat breakfast. Or maybe I have a snack throughout the day. And many of us have heard about this idea of grazing, where you just eat a little bit each day, and so I often keep nuts with me or something like that. I actually particularly don't have judgments against fast foods or crappy foods because I like them too. What I have found is that a lot of times we want to eat more healthy foods, let's say. We want to go for the more organic foods, and those are wonderful, and actually, you know, I use organic products whenever possible. One of the things that's happening as we are waking up so quickly, when you have a very high vibration, what's happening is the foods, even the healthiest organic foods right now, are not matching us. And because they're not matching us, eating that carrot just ain't going to do it. And eating that, you know, whatever it is, isn't resonating with the vibration that we're operating out of. So the foods are growing up and they will get there, but we're sort of like ahead of them. And so you just do the best you can. The best way to do it is to just tune into, what am I hungry for? Now, if that happens to be, you know, a burger from a fast food joint, you know, rather than going into judgment over it, just try to recognize what you are feeding. So for me, I'll often feed my depression or my emotions or my stress. And so by recognizing it, it takes away the shame rather than doing it anyway and feeling like shit afterwards and going, oh, I shouldn't have. Instead, what you do is you eat it and bless it and thank it for being there, and then acknowledge that it's feeding some part of your being, even if it is just your emotional being. So giving yourself more wiggle room to be human, first of all, to enjoy the fast food if you need to, but also enjoy what feels right to you. And sometimes, especially when I'm doing work like this, doing a lot of readings during the day, you really need some protein. And sometimes it's not going to come through nuts, it's going to come through beef. And I'm typically not a big meat eater, but sometimes I need real, you know, dense meats to be able to get myself back on planet Earth. Angry. Okay, so we are now working on the emotional body. As we are coming into our consciousness from these higher realms into our physical body, one of the areas we're passing through is the second chakra, which is our emotional body and our emotions and our creativity, etc. And one of the things I so clearly saw when I was doing this work is the way to enlightenment, actually, this time, is through the emotions and through the body. And so the emotions could be anything from angry, you know, to all these other, emotions. But we don't tend to worry about the ones that are called joy. We tend to stress about the ones that are called anger, and we get stuck in those. So by allowing ourselves to recognize when the surface is starting to bubble, that's one sign that, oh, I'm going there. So one method is to in the center of your hand, there's a little spot here that reflexologists often refer to as the heart center. And by simply depressing that and breathing, you can shift energy immediately. It may not be perfect, you may not suddenly go from anger to joy, but at least you can start to clear some of that initial that we start to feel as things get worked out.